Alrighty. So I think most of you that are here now were also here when I did the training video on the using the Google Sheets integration inside of the high level workflows.
Ooh, I missed that one.
And so a lot of the premium triggers and high level workflows are pretty powerful. And I've been now using the premium, the Google Sheets premium trigger. As we've been rolling out with Extended, we've been rolling out this private beta and like bits and pieces for the small business snapshot upgrade folks. And so Nick's one of those guys. And anyways, there's a premium trigger Google Sheets workflow action that goes out to a Google Sheet that we have that has a bunch of snapshot links in it. And then, when somebody uses the coupon code to move through the checkout, it goes and it gets all those one-time use snapshot links and then, drops those into custom fields that we can then send out in an email. So one of the problems that I was encountering that I was trying to figure out over the past week or so is, there's about 10 modules that we're delivering in the small business upgrade email, which means that we have 10 custom fields that contain all of those snapshot links. And there are 10 different workflows that go to the Google Sheet to hit the Google Sheet for that snapshot link and then come back and put those into custom fields. And so that has been working. The problem is that there's a lot of external operations going on. So for example, if our Google Sheet runs out of links, then the workflow will it'll error out because there's an if condition that checks that against that. And if that happens, one of the links won't get generated. And then if we send the email out with missing links, that is no bueno. And so I was like, how can I fix this issue? There's too many external things going on that the workflow relies on. And I finally came up with a solution that actually wasn't that hard. I just don't know why I didn't think of this from the beginning. So figured I would show you guys what the solution looks like. Give you guys a glimpse into the Extendly workflow that I'm using to deliver your snapshot links. And so here is the workflow right here. So this is the order form submission when somebody moves through the upgrade checkout and they use that coupon code. And then we tag them, to indicate that the coupon code was redeemed. And then there's the email where we send next steps. So this is where it's like, hey, you're going to get your links within 10 minutes. And here is like your onboarding. Go there, book your onboarding call. Here's access to the trainings and the link to get the trainings, so and so. So then it proceeds to add them to all these separate workflows. So link delivery for foundation, link delivery for list cleanup. And so all these separate workflows are the workflows that are responsible for getting those links and delivering them into the custom fields on the contact so that 10 minutes later, we can actually then add them to this workflow where those links actually get delivered. So as you can imagine, if something happens in any of these workflows, when this workflow gets added, then we have a problem. And so I realized that I could basically add an if condition right here where I basically check, okay, like, are any of these custom fields empty? And so when it gets to the end of this operation of adding all of these workflows, if for some reason any of these links are empty, then it puts them down into this side of the tree down here. So it doesn't add them to that workflow. And so then we presume that maybe they are empty because it just didn't have enough time, like the system was running slow or something like that. So it was on a 10-minute wait. And we're like, okay, let's give this another 10 minutes and we'll just pass back around and see if if we're still missing links, basically. So this checks and it says, so there's a custom field here specifically that is called snapshot delivery loop, and it starts out as 0. And so then if they pass through here, then we just increment that 0 to 1, and we send it back up here to wait another 10 minutes. And so then once this wait passes, if it checks again and they're all empty again, then they go down to, well, how many times have we looped? And then it's like, well, is the value equal to 0? And it's not this time. It's now equal to 1. And so since it's equal to 1 this time, they're going to go down this side of the tree, and it's going to send me a special text message that says something isn't right. And, because we weren't able to complete all the operations for some reason. And so then it drops them in a 30-day wait. Now they're not going to actually be in there for 30 days. I just added a long enough wait for me to basically know, okay, like something went wrong with someone. They're sitting in a bucket, and I'm going to go figure out like what went wrong, So like, okay, hey, we need manual intervention at this point. Like something in the automations is broken. And then I realized like this is a structure that I could use in a lot of different places, because there's a lot of places where I'm relying on logic to happen outside of high level for something in high level to work. You know what I'm saying? And if the communication in high level goes out before those operations complete, then we have missing information and all that type of stuff. It's not a good situation. And so this protects from that by, first giving it more time, and then second, letting me know if the more time was not helpful and something else is going wrong. And so anyway, hopefully that was good. That's it. You guys can ask any questions. I know that's could be a little complicated. I saw you raise your hand, Sean. So
hey, so that's a small business snapshot 2.0, and that's available now. I'm purchasing the small business snapshot tomorrow. So I'll be taken through that process like on a one-on-one onboarding with someone when I purchase that.
Yeah, if anybody is on here and they get or watches this later and they buy the small business snapshot like new, then we'll just add you to the private beta for the small business 2.0 right away, just because then you're not having to download any of the old stuff into your account. And here probably within a few days, the delivery of the small business snapshot would be switched such that we won't even be sending out the old delivery any longer. It'll just be this new 2.0. We've just been trying to iron out like kinks that we've been having with the onboarding engine before we officially do that. So as long as you get into the private beta knowing that there's might be still just a couple kinks, but we're working them out, then I'm fine with it.
Can I purchase it tomorrow and I can just wait? I can wait even a week to get everything that way. That wouldn't be a problem. Can I do that, or does it matter? Does it?
Yeah, we're doing actually group onboardings right now for the new version of the small business, and the next one is on Thursday. And so anytime that you buy it before Thursday, like just book that slot. And so far it's been, we've been letting like small amounts through. So it's just been like about 3 or 4 people per call, which has been pretty nice. So far everybody's been having a fun time meeting each other too. It's been kind of fun. They're like, oh, I'm an agency from the, it's like, oh, I'm an agency too. So anyway,
so when I purchase, I'll get a link for that onboarding for that group call for Thursday, or where would I find that?
Can you just message me after you've purchased, because I need to do something manually on my side, but I'll just do that.
Okay. Is there a link or your email or?
Yeah, here, let me chat you my email.
Okay, thanks.
Second.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. Okay, and then Glenn, I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, there I go. Hey, Zach. So I have a little different situation. I have the ultimate small business work snapshot. I've had it for a little while. It's never been installed in any of my accounts. I just put it into a dummy account way back. So I guess, could I get on the beta or could I get access to it so I can kind of get it installed in my account and such, or whatever I have to do?
Yeah. Let me message you my email as well, and then just send me and I'll just tell you this on the chat too. Just send me your email that you used to purchase it so I can verify that is it has to be the email that you purchased it with before for the upgrade, and then I'll upgrade that email.
Okay, so I'll just shoot you an email at that email address, and I'll do that right now. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Here's Charles.
I'm just writing you a message real quick. There you go. All right, Heidi, what's up, Heidi? I see you got a hand raised too.
Just a quick question. Would you want to add a task to it instead of just an internal notification so you can track it, and just in case you get a bunch?
You could add a task. The thing is like, if something like that happens, it's at least in that particular case, this might, like, there's certain instances where a task would be helpful because the reason of failure could be like different for everyone. In that case, like if it fails on one person, it's going to be like everybody is going to start failing. So it's like, it's kind of like kind of like an emergency, you know, if it happens, like, and I'm out to eat or something, and that's like, okay, I'm in the bathroom now looking at my phone, trying to figure out why it's failing type of thing. So.
Okay, that makes sense.
But like, there could be, so like an example of where that would be helpful is like in our spreadsheet, and especially as we get more and more modules, all of our products, like whenever they're sold, they're all pulling from that same database. So any of those sheets levels could get low at one point or another. And there isn't necessarily going to be like a pattern to that other than just like people's buying patterns. So at some point we can have an automation just delivering hopefully more links to the sheet. But right now, like, you have to go in and generate those links manually. And it's very like kind of cumbersome and high level. So anyway, so it would be helpful to know, like, with a task, it'd be helpful to know the person, because then we can inspect what product they purchased and what, you know, aired out along the way to find out if there's a problem with that specific path, you know, just for QA purposes. So
yeah, it was cool.
I like that idea.
Are all of them going to be using the additional cost, the premium actions in the snapshots?
Oh, like, are all of our new ones going to be? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Not all of them, no. I do think that well, I don't know. So like the database reactivation one that we're working on, for example, like the way we have it set up is it's kind of there's a template there that can be used without requiring any premium triggers. For example, if you wanted to just put your own database reactivation language into those custom values, you could do that. And then we have the database reactivation sort of language copywriting utility in a separate module. And so if people want to generate that language and stuff, they can, but that, you know, is going to use premium triggers for that. And a lot of those are going to be agency modules rather than like base modules. not that like obviously customer account couldn't use a premium trigger if they wanted to, but I think that to some degree having, well, I won't get deep into the weeds there, but a point where like end customer accounts will probably start seeing like more variable costs every month. They're already experiencing a little bit with SMS and email, but as like AI gets into the equation and all that, that's going to be another big sort of variable cost for them, I would think. So premium triggers kind of could fall into that same. The Chat GPT trigger is probably going to be the most used premium trigger, I would imagine. So,
okay, thanks.
All right, Charles, what's up, my man?
Hey, so I had a question about the onboarding engine in regards to onboarding. If we're using, currently we have Extendly doing all our onboardings. We're using the onboarding snapshot, which includes a funnel. And we have the real estate snapshot, the quick start, and the SMB 1.0.
Yeah.
Using the engine, do we basically have to rebuild that funnel? And then how do we determine, because right now it's just one funnel for everybody, although as you guys start to go to this new modular, we'll be able to get more granular, I'm supposing, on the onboarding questions, so we can get even more pre-built beforehand. I'm just wondering how this changes how the onboarding engine affects the onboarding funnel, and how it gets to the embedded calendars, since a while back they stopped using the agency calendars due to scheduling constraints based on the location. They went to theirs because they could run a 24-hour clock on the location to open up availability for onboarding calls. But just kind of wondering how the engine is going to work with onboarding funnel.
So I think that I'll tell you what I know now, but I think that this process will probably undergo some changes, over the next probably couple weeks. But in private beta, as the new onboarding engine stabilizes, and it becomes something that we'll start using with everything, it's possible that the white label onboarding process will need to be slightly modified. And everything in onboarding engine is kind of set up in a way to where, when you go to create a form in onboarding engine and you use a base sub account to create that form. And so that's kind of set up to act like whatever your snapshot variants are. So like you would have a base sub account for real estate, base sub account for SMB, or whatever. Or if you had like 3 SMB variants, one that had like these modules, another one that had these modules. So you would just have a different sub account for each of those snapshot variants. And then with the onboarding engine, when you set up the onboarding form from those accounts, it goes in and looks at whatever custom values are in the account and automatically reconstructs the onboarding form template. So that like the template will actually be smaller or larger depending on like how many modules are sitting in that account. How many of our modules are sitting in that account, plus any custom values you've added. So anyway, it's a little easier kind of on the white label side because it's kind of like, to some degree, we don't even need to know what snapshot is sitting in that account. We only need to know what custom values are sitting in that account, and we hit the API to check that, and we pull that back and then reconstruct the onboarding form. And so it's pretty easy from the white label side. The process just looks like, okay, now we're going to go fill out the form for whatever values are there, based on whatever form was assigned to that sub account. So the white label team would just do that, kind of like they did with Extended Dash 1.0. They'll still just be filling out those onboarding forms. But even right now, like you can adjust, your SOPs with the white label team to have like to gather more or less, well, typically more information than sort of like the default template that the white label team uses. You can modify your SOPs, like if you want to gather more information, like if it would be helpful if you end up having 20 different snapshot variants, then asking for more information would obviously make sense because you could dynamically route, kind of whatever snapshot to that person that you want. That was a long answer, Charles, but did I cover everything or? You're cutting out a little bit. You're breaking up so bad. I can't hear you.
Now he's cutting in a little bit.
Well, until he comes back.
Yeah,
Anybody? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple of quick questions. I have the small business snapshot as well. I haven't really installed it in a customer sub account, but I've got it in a couple of my test accounts. So, can you add me to that beta program? And
yep.
I would love to.
I'll tell you. I'll give you my email so you can just send me an email with whatever email address you used.
Okay.
To purchase.
Perfect.
And I'll upgrade you.
Yeah, and then my second question was I'm trying to catch up on some of the past recordings. I think it was 2 weeks ago you did the presentation on the email sequences, and I listened to the replay, but there were a couple of 2 or 3 email sequences that you gave out. I don't know if you still willing to share those with me, or they weren't in the recording, so I was curious as to whether or not they were still. I can still get access to them.
Are you talking about the training that I did on the nurture?
Yeah, the nurturing seed. Yeah, just about 2 weeks ago, right? I listened in on the one last week with respect to the AI bot, but then I think it was 2 weeks ago you had one on nurturing sequences. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was trying to think about what I would have given away. I do have on the nurture stuff, which you were asking about this too, Heidi, at one point, I think. Can't remember if I sent this to you or not, but I do have a Google Doc template that has like a framework for nurture in it. And I know I shared that on one of the videos. If you guys want me to send that to you, I could totally send that to you.
Yeah, I thought you said there was something about like some sample emails, actual emails that you gave out. It was like you said one of them was like either 10 or 15 email sequence. Yeah, I was trying to find that.
If you can find that video, can you find that video that you're talking about of me and Zoom chat me the link? Because I honestly cannot recall which one that was.
Yeah, I have it bookmarked, so I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then whatever was in there that I said I'd give away, I'm sure I still have it, so I'll do it.
Appreciate it.
And then let me also find this nurture template. I'll send that to you guys.
You said you're sending it. Do you mean emailing it or putting it in the chat?
I'll put it in the chat for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, here it is.
Perfect.
And then I think that was the only nurture asset that I shared. Yeah. But yeah, let me know, Leroy, if I shared something else. And then Charles, you got dropped, man.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No
Was
worries.
transitioning from cell to Wi-Fi. It didn't want to switch over. So right now with the onboarding funnel, one of the automations that's tied behind it is currently it's set up as 5 individual surveys. So they fill out the survey 1, it takes them to step 2 or step 3 in the onboarding funnel, but then it also puts them into a workflow. So if I look here, so when they submit the first step, the first of 5 surveys, it puts them into this saying that they submitted it. And then basically this is, it adds a tag, survey submitted, waits 30 minutes, adds a note, and then adds the tag, survey reminder, sends them the follow-up link and the link to survey number 2. Because that typically means if they've been longer than 30 minutes after they submitted the first survey, then they may have left and not completed their onboarding. So these are reminders that are set up. And then consequently, when they go into pre-onboarding step 2, they get removed from this one, the same process, so on and so forth. And I guess that's where with the onboarding engine, is it just generating one big survey for them to fill out? And then what happens if they don't fill the whole thing out? Do they come back in and some of it's filled, some of it's not? It's all blank again. They have to start completely over. How does that? I always look at it from the standpoint that they're not going to do what we would ideally want them to do. So how do we factor for that?
Yeah. That is a good question, because on the white label side, they haven't been going through extended dash with your clients, right, Charles? They're just having them fill out the surveys.
Yeah, we're just doing the OG onboarding with this. It's the onboarding snapshot that included the funnel, the workflow, the surveys, the custom values or the custom fields.
Yeah.
Associated. No custom values. I think there may have been 1 or 2 custom values, but that was just for the design of the funnel itself. Which I like how this follows up with them, because things happen. They might get halfway through the survey and then something comes up, they have to step away. Power goes out. There's a million things that could happen in the middle of their onboarding. So the onboarding engine, how is that going to be addressed? But then also, what the heck do I do with this onboarding funnel? Or how do they get to the calendars to schedule their tech call and onboarding call?
Let me, I have a meeting scheduled with the team that is responsible for doing the white label onboardings tomorrow. And we have our first sort of like mock white label onboarding with like with the new products and with the new onboarding engine. And Alejandro had mentioned still using the onboarding funnel. But that's a good question about like how that information is going to get over to the new extended dash, or if it is, or if the onboarding team is just going to simply use the extended dash as like the tool that, sort of internally. Because if the agency was onboarding, they would just be using that tool, if the agency was doing their own onboardings, they would just be using onboarding engine to do it. So I would imagine that like our onboarding team's probably going to just be doing that also, like kind of a not like, well, yeah, kind of like a copy and paste. But maybe there is a way. I'll chat with the NOS also and see if there's a way that we could kind of get like a link, between the survey responses and what's in onboarding engine. So that way, I mean, that would speed things up for us, if we're doing the onboardings, having some of that automated. But yeah, to your point, like in that case, like to some degree, I would think either way. I mean, it's probably already set up like this right now, right? With like the survey questions are probably mirroring to some degree, like the custom value inputs that are needed, right? In the account.
Yeah, they are. And so, I mean, I can see where the onboarding, and we don't get a lot. And basically what they're doing now is they go into my sub account and they look up that contact and they copy and paste what was put in those fields into the custom values in that new sub account. That's what they do in between their tech call and their training call. That's what gets the account basically set up. But right now, they've got, let's see. So when they first go into the funnel, this is what they see. Once they complete a checkout, they're taken to their onboarding funnel, which here they can click to start onboarding. There's an explainer video explaining the process that they're going to go to. They start going through the surveys, which these are all individual surveys. So that way it can trigger each individual workflow for reminders in case they stop. And that way it's saving it. It's not asking too many questions. It's not asking all these questions and then it not save. So it's saving on each one. And then they go, once they complete these 5, they get taken to this page where they schedule their tech call. They schedule this one, then they get taken to their training call calendar. So this is all in one funnel.
So are you doing one funnel right now for each product that you're selling?
Mm-hmm. Because it's the only option we had up until now. I mean, I could have created duplicate funnels. I mean, I could create duplicate funnels, but I didn't want to go through and try to figure out all the custom values that I needed for each individual one, because I'm ranging from quick start to real estate to small business. But with the onboarding engine, if it's automatically fetching those custom values and pulling them in, and then I'm just determining, okay, let's remove this one. We don't need that. We don't need them to fill that out. Let's remove these that they don't necessarily have to fill out.
Yeah, because there's that, and there's also with onboarding engine, like when you're on each step, those steps actually are saving. I just found this out today.
They are saving as you go.
Yeah, exactly. So, which it doesn't really like look like it right now, just because the way the UX is structured. But I discovered that is actually what's happening. So, because one advantage of doing it in onboarding engine would be like if it lives in a custom menu link, like they could stay in theory they could stay in their account the whole time. I don't know if that's I don't know how big of an advantage that is. But
and that's the other part of it. So that's one thing that I do is that every one of my sub accounts,
you're already putting that funnel in a custom menu link.
Well, so it's the, so like if I go to this one, build wise, he has the small business. So he has the OG small business.
Oh yeah, he's got the extended dash, the 1.0. Mm-hmm.
So all my accounts have this currently, which all the old ones would have to stay on this, I'm assuming. anyone moving forward could use the new one that I like them having this, because if they ever want to go, I'd rather them go through here to update things than go into custom values.
Well, then maybe
there's
that's
less that they could break here.
Maybe we should. I don't know if you have a perspective on like a preference, but to me it sounds like leaning on the new onboarding engine might be the way to go over using the survey, because we're on a trajectory to replace all of the old products. So eventually, including real estate, everything is going to be updated. Real estate's on our docket after SaaS agency. So
and I'm good with all that. It's just I don't want to, I mean, there's some things from these old ones that are just good. They just work.
Yeah.
And so kind of
we'll leave
onboarding
Extended Dash 1.0 up for sure. I mean, because that's how all the SBS 1.0 people are still gonna, or I guess any of the legacy snapshots they'll be still using.
Because I'm not going to go into all these and update them to 2.0. That would be an absolute nightmare. They're going to stay on whatever one they got. I'm not upgrading them. I don't feel like working for free for the next 3-4 months. So
right.
No. So they can stay on their legacy. I mean, they won't know a difference. So, but I just, as long as they have something like this based off of the new engine, great. So that way they can come in here and update whatever they want to update. If they want to change their brand colors, they can come in here and change their brand colors, and it updates everywhere through the snapshot. Because this, if they update it here, it pushes it to the custom value in their sub account. But then, my biggest question is, okay, so now when they check out on my page, if I'm using, once I make the switch, where do I direct them after they check out? What's that process like now with white label onboarding? Right now it's pretty seamless because they go straight to an onboarding funnel.
Yeah, which
that's just some of my thoughts and my
those
initial, kind of like, okay, well, this is great, but now what do I do? Because I don't want to do onboarding. I don't like working.
No, that's not the. There's just there's like a 2, let's call it like a 1 to 2 week transition period here where I think we have a bit of a gap there, but we'll get it figured out. So
and that's fine. I'm in no rush to switch. I mean, I've got the assets. I haven't even downloaded them yet. Because I sent you a message trying to get scheduled into the onboarding to at least get the sub accounts, the masters set up and get everything set up. But I probably won't launch it for at least 2 or 3 weeks. Just because I want to make sure all the bugs are, for the most part, ironed out.
That makes sense. I think there's wisdom to that, for sure.
Yeah.
It is still a little early with onboarding engine. So
just because I know this works, and like I know the onboarding team is used to it, I know like all parties involved are used to it. So that's when I'm kind of like, I'm okay with slowly rolling this. Because when I switch, I have to switch everything all at once.
Yeah, you mean
because I'm going to replace my small business. I'm going to replace my quick start. I'm not going to replace, but I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do with real estate as far as onboarding with the new onboarding engine. So I have to make sure, even though it's a legacy, that it's still going to work with it and everything's kosher.
Yeah, because we could do a different process, with you for like small business 2.0 compared to real estate, especially while there's like a variance there in how they, because the new snapshots use licensing that is compatible with the new extended dash. The old snapshots still require to be licensed
manual
and extended dash.
activation,
Yeah, a manual licensing process. And so could you use onboarding engine with the old real estate snapshot? Like technically yes, but licensing still has to be done in the first extended dash. So it's a little bit kind of like
and that's
pointless, you know.
I always try to look at the onboarding team and the support team and try to make whatever decision I'm making. I don't want to make their lives harder. I always look at that because I just view them as an extension of my company. So I mean, they've been gracious enough to go in and activate everyone these licensed during onboarding. So I've never had to worry about it. But if I can make their lives easier, that's what I'll do.
Sweet. I'll let you know how we can make their lives.
Can I come to that
easier
meeting
after
tomorrow?
The meeting tomorrow. Yeah. That's part of what I want to find out. So okay, cool. All right. What you got, Rob?
Sorry, didn't mean to make that so long.
No, you're good. Not at all.
Hey there. So yeah, I just kind of touching on what you guys were all talking about here. So in terms of like these 2.0 snapshots, like this is specifically oriented because you guys are updating your extended dash to a new version. Is that
they just happen to basically happen at the same time? So that was like a little bit wild. Like we didn't really know the stars were going to align like that until they just did. And so then we were like, well, like updating anything that's legacy. So we could either update all of our old products with new licensing from the new extended dash, or since we're updating the products anyway, you know, and refreshing them and improving their functionality and all that stuff, instead of updating the legacy products to align with the new extended dash, it sort of makes more sense to build the new products for extended dash and just update people's products. So it's like two birds with one stone, if that makes any sense.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. And when is the 2.0 small business snapshot coming out, like officially?
I don't have an official date, but like it's looking like really soon. I keep getting myself in trouble with official dates on that. And so there's just too many, like the white label onboarding is a variable. The stability of onboarding engine is a variable. This like, meanwhile, we are still finishing a few modules. You know, we are planning on rolling it out initially without those modules anyways, just to get the value out to people earlier. But we're also sort of in the position where until everything is totally stable, we'd rather let people in that like actually want to be part of the beta and be okay with it being like a little bit rough around the edges still and that kind of stuff before we push it out to the whole list. But it's starting to look like things are getting pretty stable. I'm hoping by the end of this week that things will be super stable, and then we'll be in a good spot to just upgrade everybody here in the next couple weeks.
So I actually purchased a small business snapshot. So if you could also send me your contact info so I can get access to the beta.
Yeah, for sure, man. As far as like all you guys that show up on these calls, I mean, you guys are like my family, you know what I mean? I'm definitely upgrading all you guys.
And apart from that, just kind of wanted to touch on what you covered today in terms of using the Google Sheet Premium trigger. Can you just kind of like walk me through from a macro level how exactly that all works? Because it sounds like you're populating a link, which then kind of there's a lot of automation going on there, and I'm just kind of wrap my brain around how exactly that works and if there's any use cases I can apply it to on my own.
Yeah, sure. I'll do another little pass through with you guys on how that works.
Because I get the point of like adding them to different workflows, which populates things, but in terms of actually like the other stuff, like what the actual like objective is of this is just kind of interesting to me, and I don't exactly get it.
So this is like kind of, there's one more automation that runs before this that is the one that sends you guys the coupon code to check out and get the upgrade for free. Once you check out, this is an order form submission trigger, so you're pulled into this workflow, and you're tagged, and you get a little email that says, hey, thanks for upgrading. Here's the onboarding page. Here's the training you're getting access to, and here's some more training, some learning modules you can go consume, and you're going to get your snapshot links within 10 minutes. So then it goes down and adds them to all of these workflows. And so these are the workflows that are actually generating the links. And to show you guys how one of these works. So let's just do the foundation. So we have a spreadsheet, and let me hold on just a second. Let me see if I can share the spreadsheet in a way where I'm not sharing a bunch of deets of customers. There we go. That'll work. All right, I'll reshare here. Just so you can see the link, the structure of the spreadsheet, right? So we have just first name, last name, email, high level contact ID, an allocated column which is set to false, a date timestamp, and then a one-time snapshot use link. So then inside of this foundation workflow, which is this workflow, we start by hitting Google Sheets and saying, okay, go to the foundation worksheet, start from the top, find me a column where allocated is false. So if we go back to the spreadsheet, so it's going to say, okay, the next row where allocated is false is this one. And so then we check, okay, so allocated is false. That's great. But what about the snapshot link? Let's make sure that that's not empty. And then we'll just do one more check just to be extra safe that allocated is false. And so it's like, okay, like it looks like row 20 is good to go. Looks like there's a link, and yeah, we definitely have a false here. And so then it passes through this F tree right here. This is another branch where if for some reason it does go down this side of the branch, I need to add like a notification to myself or something. But if it does go down to this side of the branch, we catch that error elsewhere anyways. So anyway, then what it does is, okay, so we have a snapshot link. So it's going to take this custom field, which stores the link, and it's going to pull the snapshot link from that row in the Google Sheet, the row that it looked up earlier. Then what it's going to do is it's going to go through here and it's going to say, okay, the rest of the Google Sheet, put the first name in the first name, last name in the last name, email in the email, drop the contact ID in there and change allocated to true, and then give us a timestamp. And so then it's going to pass through in the sheet here and it's going to say, okay, so the person that redeemed this was this person's first name, last name, email, high level contact ID, and now this row can't be used anymore. So it sets it to true. And so once all this runs, so going back to our previous workflow, so like for the small business 2.0 upgrade, we push through this whole list, right? Get snapshot links for all of our modules. Because now we're delivering the modules with separate snapshot links instead of giving one big snapshot link. It's all coming in the form of modules. And so then there's...
And why is that? I'm just curious.
Several different reasons. One of them is it makes it a lot easier for agencies, because when they bring all the modules into their agency dashboard, they can then easily select, well, okay, out of these 10, I only want 5 in the sub count, and that's already diced up for them. Whereas when they get one big snapshot link for the small business, if they want to take like just a piece of that functionality and put it in one of their sub accounts, they have no idea how to even go about doing that without breaking things. And so in all of these workflows, there is a wait at the very top. Well, this one doesn't have a wait because it's the very first one. But as we move down the list and we go to this one, then this one, then this one, there's a slight incremental wait step at the top of those workflows so that this one fires 30 seconds after, this one fires 30 seconds after, so on and so forth. And so the reason why we do that is so that we're not basically so that high level doesn't get clogged up, because sometimes it gets a little, there's sometimes issues in high level with what they call race conditions, which is where too many things are trying to access something at once and then information just ends up missing. And so these fire off in order, which is why there's a 10-minute wait down here, because this wait is basically waiting for that whole stack of links to get pulled into the contact. And then when the wait is done, then it goes down here to this if condition, and it's like, okay, did we populate all the contact or all the custom fields that we needed to? And if the answer is no, then it goes down to this little loop here, and basically the first time it comes through, they'll go down this side of the tree and they'll get a math value incremented by 1, and then they'll jump back up to the wait step. So it's like, okay, it didn't finish in 10 minutes. Does it need a little more time maybe? So it goes down here and it's like, yeah, let's give it 10 more minutes. And so it pushes it back up to the 10 minutes. And then when it comes back down through here through the second time, it's like, okay, now we still don't have all the links. And that's when it sends me like an alert, like, hey, something's not right. Because if that does happen, something truly is not right. They should not really ever have that happen now that this isn't working. And so they'll come down this side of the tree, most of the time. And then this is the workflow that just delivers out the links, and in that email, it's just all the custom fields stacked that for each module respective snapshot link.
Gotcha. So just to confirm that all makes sense. The only thing is in terms of how the link is specifically generated. So when they go in a workflow, they actually get a link which gets stored as a custom field for them, right?
Yeah, we pull the links from a Google Sheet and then we put it into their custom field.
Okay, that's I guess that's what's interesting. So you guys automatically populate the links first, and then you populate.
Yeah, the way that like Extendly used to do it was, somebody would purchase, and then we would have, a VA go and generate the link, right? Because it has to be done manually by the click of a mouse. So we would go, and then we would send it to someone within 24 hours. Now the way that we're doing it is we just have a huge Google Sheet. So we go in and we populate like 100 links of each module, and then as we're using them and selling them, then the sheet is using links, and then we're going in there adding more links. So it's just a way that people can get them quicker, and we can batch that task, into chunks.
Beautiful. Yeah. Okay. That makes perfect sense. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool. And then I do have another question, but I don't know if you have time for it, but we can let Glenn go ahead and ask his question.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. It's going to be quick anyway. So just, Zach, more not specific to what you're talking about, but I was a lifetime member of the GHL Experts, which now I know falls under Extendly, and I'm also an Extendly customer for support.
Okay.
Yep. So is what you're showing, and generally, the direction you're going with these updated snapshots, all having to do with, I guess, prior to the acquisition, the guys at the GHL Expert side were talking about building out like a wizard or some way to just basically click on a specific snapshot and have it deployed, like may it be the coupon snapshot that they had at that time, which I'm assuming you're now supporting, or some of the other tools they had out there. Is that kind of what's happening here, why this is all changing?
That is that is a part of it. I mean, there's a bunch of different groups and folks coming into Extendly right now from like from a bunch of places. So the GHL experts team has been one of them. So the reason why I'm mentioning that is just there's probably going to be a lot of changes over the next few months, just in general with everything, because
Right.
there's all sorts of new products entering the ecosystem, but specifically as it pertains to Extendly and GHL experts. Yeah, so in the Extendly product team, like the way it's kind of set up now is two individual branches. Think of it like, we have sort of a snapshot development branch, and then we have a custom app development branch of the product team. And AI is kind of also another branch going on right now. And so what's happening is, there's a lot of custom app development going on with the former GHL experts team. And then now we have a lot of development going on the snapshot side too. So, so we're just trying to kind of align our initiatives, so that the customer experience is really consistent, like as both teams are rolling things out. The GHL experts team, they have, a lot of the attention over the past, let's call it couple months, has been on two apps, and the new extended dash specifically. One has been support engine and the other one has been onboarding engine. But they, I believe, and you probably have a good idea of this, but the GHL experts had a few other products like review engine and I think sales engine maybe. And so I think the idea is like all of that is going to be made available in like little apps within the new extended dash. And that's all stuff that's supposed to like, make people's experience with high level go further, be easier, all that type of stuff. And so, to the best that we can, stuff that we're doing on snapshots as well, it'd be great to align kind of what's happening in snapshots with those apps and everything, so that kind of the experience through the whole ecosystem is really coherent,
Right.
And
Yeah. I think that, from my standpoint, I can't speak for anybody else, but I'm trying to get away from the tech, right? I'm a professionally trained salesperson and selling for almost 40 years in corporate America and such. And I just want to get away from the tech, because the tech is just, between the shiny objects and the cool features, it just destroys your cash flow. And so what the reason I'm asking you the questions I'm asking you is the model I know that the experts had in mind, which I guess you guys will continue, was to have some kind of a wizard where you could kind of step through and just bring that snapshot in and bring the next, that I guess vision, from a vision standpoint, I think that's where they were trying to go, which made a lot of sense to me, because like Charles made a comment before about, I don't want to rechange, I don't want to have to learn another snapshot and figure out how to deploy that against the other one. It's just way too much to deal with. And if you're not selling, I'm just not making any revenue. So, so I'm looking for a simple plug and play. And I guess my question really is that the direction we're trying to go in here, that it's a little more plug and play setup?
I think so.
Yeah.
Especially, even with the snapshots, the ultimate snapshots have been historically pretty large, and subsequently hard to wrap your brain fully around. And so the small business bundle and the SaaS agency bundle are still going to be like relatively large bundles in terms of the number of modules that people get in those bundles. But we have a few like micro bundles out now, which are the same modules. It's just they're smaller bundles. Like they'll come with like 3 modules, or 2 modules.
So this is
opposed to.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. So this is different. You're talking about, I don't know what the bundle, what these, so like I have the I guess the ultimate small business, and I had the quick start prior.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
I know when I looked at that workflow in that ultimate thing, that was like, I couldn't imagine having to modify that. that workflow. That just it would take somebody just to, you have to understand it every single step of it. I couldn't imagine trying to modify that thing. So that's what I guess, is that what the benefit I'm going to gain by being on the newer version of this? Because I said to you earlier in the conversation that I haven't deployed it to a customer. I have it in a base account sitting there, and I haven't deployed it to a customer because I just looked at that workflow and said, I'm not going to modify this workflow. There's just no way I'm going to mess with that. So it's never got installed anywhere. But so is that going to alleviate that issue? Is that kind of where we're going?
I hope so. I mean,
Okay.
I would say if it doesn't, let me know. Because I mean, to put it in context, I'm pretty savvy with high level, at this point in time. And I mean, when I first kind of started going through the small business, like it took a lot of mental horsepower for me to get all the way through it. And so it's things like that are just an indicator to me that, like, if someone who really understands the stuff,
Right.
taking a while to understand this, then someone who knows nothing about high level is going to have probably a much harder time understanding this. And so the idea was, like, we need to give smaller products to people that are more digestible. And oftentimes, like, people don't need to solve all the problems that one of the big snapshots gives you. They're only really going to use 2 features out of the 20 that we're giving to them. So yeah, that's the whole idea. I really hope that it's simpler for people. It's been a bit of a different thing than what people are used to, kind of getting our deliveries in the form of modules. And so I'm curious to see how easy that is for people to understand. But my hypothesis is, once we kind of get past this change, it's going to be quite a bit easier for people. But I could be wrong on that hypothesis. So I hope that's not the case.
Okay. Yeah. So again, I just trying to understand, not so much about this snapshot you were showing or anything. I'm more concerned about the direction you're going and how that it's going to affect me long time, and how as my business progresses, how that's all going to come into play. So if the snapshots are easier to manage and easier to deploy and easier to update, that's all a good thing. Because right now, as much as I appreciate what you guys are doing, to be honest with you, I have a product I can't really even use because I can't modify it. So,
I was about to say, I was like,
Yeah.
well, hopefully we can do. Yeah, I mean, if we're moving in any direction that makes it to where you can actually put that in a client account, that's the right direction, as opposed to not being in any client account. So
yeah, and my model's different than most of the people. I'm a part of a tech stack of a software company. So they're selling their product, and we're basically looking to bolt our stuff on top of it from a sales perspective. So it's not like we haven't been able to operate, or it's like been a major issue, but at some point it's going to be an issue. We need to be able to add more functionality to the GHL side of the fence. And now with the CRM finally becoming somewhat functional, because it was non-functional in the B2B space. I'm in the B2B space, so that's a big difference. But it's been non-functional in the B2B space. Finally, it's semi-functional. So as they build the availability to have extra, phone numbers and email addresses and CCing on things that had to be there, and they're just not, so. It's been a slow. It's been a slow. I've been 2.5 years with GHL, and I'm kind of third time I'm reinventing my whole model and everything I'm doing, because it's just not been a straight road.
Yeah, man, that's a tough. That can be a tough spot. It's easy to reach burnout in that spot. So it'd be definitely fun to get you up and running, so you're, so you can feel the wind in your hair.
Yeah, right. Because I'm not an agency. I'm a software guy, and I'm not a developer. I'm a software sales guy. So, I'm kind of have to rely on other things being in place for the big picture to play out.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you for clarifying it, because I'm trying to understand, like, where things are going to, and there's a lot of changes going on, acquisitions, and all these things are happening. So I just need to plan how that's going to affect our goal at the end. So appreciate
That's wise. I like it. Yeah, no problem at all, man.
Were you
anybody have anything else?
Glenn, were you using any of their FOMO stuff before, or the reputation manager that GHL experts had?
Well, so quick answer. I played with the FOMO stuff. it wasn't. It's not in the space that I'm in, the B2B space. It's just not a big issue.
No,
that kind of stuff. It's all just.
Were you using the review engine?
Flower dressing. The review engine I did start to play with, but I
So
stopped. The problem is that
it didn't work.
There's no connection. Like, so when you're driving, like if you create your own process in doing the reviews, but then they're not being driven to the dashboard in GHL so that when someone sees it, right? So you end up creating a bigger problem for yourself. So you end up you put this cool thing in there, but what the hell's the difference? Because there's no real good reporting and nobody's able to see the data. But if you use the standard one, it's so basic that it doesn't provide the level of
the only reason I ask that is, if you've played with the review engine, you've seen GHL experts like dashboard, where they have the different modules. That's where all this stuff is getting built. It's all being built off the same engine.
Yeah,
just for different components.
Right.
So if you're used to that interface, like you and I have already seen that interface and utilized it.
Right.
Maybe not in the same regard for like the onboarding engine, but it's going to function somewhat similarly. I'm assuming, because it's their same platform. They're just repurposing different modules for different things, like they did review engine.
So are we getting it from that old site? If I wanted to load something from there, or are you going to go to where are you going for this stuff?
Depending on what it is. So if it's GHL Expert still has their legacy products, like the review engine. And there's a couple social proof engine. There's a couple others that they had all built into that one application, where as you bought them, you had your buttons enabled and you could go into each individual engine and manage it and set it up.
Okay.
This, since they're partnered now, it's just pulling like what they were going to build, GHL experts going to build as an onboarding engine. They're now doing it under Extendly, because Extendly provides the snapshots. So it only makes sense to have that as part of the snapshot experience, not part of, here's just a tool. I hope you have a snapshot to go with it. That's kind of what I've seen talking beyond. I mean, when they first launched the support engine, I was like, this is the GHL experts engine. It's the same thing I've looked at for over a year.
And then I'm also a lifetime purchaser of the stuff from Chat HQ, right? The user guides and that stuff. And then
there is differences. You and I are in the same boat.
Yeah.
In that regards,
I'll talk to you. I'll talk to this. Yeah. Okay. Well, you and I should have a sidebar. Thanks, Charles, and thank you, Zach.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
All right, one more, and then I'm shutting it down. Rob, what you got?
All right. Just wanted to, there's two, but the first one's really quick. In terms of assigning a contact, so let's say a lead comes in, right, and it's assigned to a specific user. I know you can do a round robin kind of lead to be assigned to users, right? Mm-hmm. From there, let's say that user gets aged for, let's say, 1 week. In terms of reassigning it automatically to a new person, I haven't really thought through this too much, but at the top of your head, can you think of an easy way that can occur?
Yeah. Still opportunity trigger in a workflow.
Okay.
You can define it on like a pipeline level, or even like, get down to a pipeline stage level if you want to. And then you can set a duration in days in the filter parameters. So if you want it to be like 14 days, you say, still opportunity in X pipeline, Y pipeline stage, at the 7-day mark. And then from there, like once they're dormant in there for 7 days, like it'll trigger. And from there, once it triggers, you could do whatever you want with it. So if you want to add like an assign to contact in that workflow and reassign them to someone else, you could do that. You could add a task to somebody's plate. You could follow up with them or whatever,
Could it be I'm sure you probably could, but could you do a round robin to like the remainder of the other users essentially? You could just kind of do the same thing of them coming in.
So you could, what you'd probably want to do is like once the stale trigger fires, then you would have a routing if condition at the top that's like, well, is it assigned to this user? And so then if it is, then assign it to, then the next action would be like split it across everyone else. And then so that could get like a little bit hairy if you have like 10 people, but most people are going to have like 2 or 3 people. So you're just looking at like an if condition with 3 different branches, not too hard,
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I appreciate that. And then last thing is like just an extendly like offering question. So you guys offer onboarding as well as support as well, right?
Mm-hmm. So there's agency support, and then there's also white label support and onboarding as well.
Gotcha.
White label means like your customers, obviously.
Right.
Just in case that wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah. And then in terms of the support, so how exactly is that offered? Like, is it just chat support or for the white label support?
I mean, it all at this point goes through like the conversation starts on a chat. I'll put it that way. And there are instances where, there will be Zoom calls and things like that the support team will do. If something gets to the point where that is, where that's needed, but they try to keep the support on chat as much as possible.
Got it. And last follow up to that is, in terms of resources, like documents and documentation, do you guys offer anything with regards to that?
Do you mean for
like white labeled? Yeah, for white labeled resource and documents.
Yeah, so there's the chat widget that we're using for support. We have like a knowledge base like built into the chat. I don't know if you've ever used like an intercom or something like that chat where, it's like kind of a mixture of like, okay, you might be talking to an AI sometimes, you might be talking to a human sometimes, like there's support articles in there. It's kind of like everything happens in the chat. So we're always adding, so there's already a bunch of articles in there, like that are white label articles that are stripped, of like any mention of high level and stuff like that the users can get access to. And we're trying to always grow that, as much as possible. And that will be the case. We're working on a plan right now for adding stuff to the white label knowledge base that has information on our snapshots in it, but doesn't speak about the snapshots in the same way that like we talk to agency owners about the snapshots. That way, if somebody's searching for like something specific to like one of the snapshot modules that they may or may not have in their account, they can, find information. It's in the support engine on the new extended dash. There's also these like little switches in there that you can turn on and off for like if you don't want certain knowledge base information to be available to them. So you can right now you cannot like add your own. It's like stuff that we add, but you can at least choose of the stuff that we've added what you want to show or not show to your clients, basically.
Got it. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great information. Cool. That's all I had for you. Appreciate you, Zach, as always.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for showing up, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you, Zach. Appreciate you, man.
No problem, guys. I hope you have a great week. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Want to learn Go High Level in a structured format? Check out the gohighlevel.com by Extendly. We guarantee to save you 6 months of wasted subscription costs for High Level. Just visit the gohighlevel.com.